Hello, and welcome to another episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. It's me, Jessica Dark, your favorite co-host from Oklahoma City at the Pierce Couch firm. And I am joined today by who I would call my elite co-host. We've got Pam Halford from the Carr Allison firm in Dothan, Alabama. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Jessica. How's it going?
Well, I'm reporting live from a Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, and I just got a phone call from my kids' summer camp to say, "Hey, we noticed your kids brought their lunch. Today's a half day. Just wanted to make sure someone's going to come get them by noon." And I said, no, I was not aware of this. So that's what I'm doing now is scrambling to make sure I can go pick my kids up at noon.
Well, that's funny. We're having very different days. I'm a Bloody Mary deep and headed on a girls' trip. So, yeah, very different situations happening in our worlds today.
Well, let's check in with our guest and see what's going on in her world. Today, we've got Kristina Kamler from the Baird Home Firm in Omaha, Nebraska. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good. I was trying to think of if I could get away from work today to go golf. So kind of in between where you are, Jessica, and where Pam is in terms of total relaxation on a Friday.
I
Well,
love that.
I
And
was
we're running the gambit.
I was looking forward to my afternoon because I had booked two pedicures, one for me and my number one associate, whose name is also Jessica. And I just had to call her and say, "Hey, bad news. Uh, Pedicures are off, and I will be picking up my children instead." But, that's life of a working mom.
It sure is. Yeah.
Well, Chris, looking forward to talking to you. I know you are very active in our products liability group in the US Law Network, and we will get to dive into some preemption and products issues here in a little bit. But first, let's start with you. Tell our ginormous audience of podcast listeners about Chris Kamler, how you have gotten to Baird Home, how you handle all your responsibilities and balance your work with your U.S. law activities.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here today and to have this conversation with you guys. But a little bit about me. I grew up in a small town, probably smaller than your audience, and it's a total of 300 people or less.
Chris. Not
Well, it's 300 people, so I mean, I'm sure your audience is bigger than our town. But anyway, I was kind of the local kid that did everything around town, delivered the newspapers, worked at the grocery store, all the things. It kind of got me involved in business. I ran two businesses as a kid for 10 years each before I
What
graduated
businesses?
high school. I ran a fireworks stand for 10 years and also had a paper route for 10 years. I started both when I was 8 and then graduated and, went on to do work. But,
I'm a 7-year-old and I can't get her to brush her teeth every day. I have no idea how at 8 you decided to start two businesses, but if you could please whisper into my little sweet angel baby's ear about motivation and drive, that'd be great.
Well, part of it was I had an older brother who I just idolized, and I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it, so I was that kid. But
Competitive from the start.
Oh, absolutely. Like he was not going to beat me out on any income potential. So, here I am. So anyway, I went to college. That experience kind of gave me the drive to get involved in business and understand business and how it works. And then, in college, I just kind of developed an interest in law and, here I am. Went to law school. I enjoy doing the product stuff. I've really developed kind of a niche in the weird and the wild cases. My kind of claim to fame was I litigated the first NIL case in Iowa, and it involved a lady who carried 2 glasses of beer on her bosoms to customers in the 1950s. So it was wild.
That is incredible.
The imaging is something to behold.
Yes, absolutely. Holy cow. Well, how did that shape out, Kristina?
So that case was about NIL, and it was all about whether or not the woman's image and likeness, name, image, and likeness descended through intestate succession. She had this huge following in the 50s and, had all these headlines about the buxom barmaid who, did really crazy things. And she did those things from 1950 to 1970. Ultimately, she got tired of it, retired in 93. And, she retired in 70, then died in 93. The really crazy thing about her and what made her story crazy was she married 16 times to 9 different men.
Oh.
And as a result, there were a lot of issues with, upon her passing, who would inherit her name, image, and likeness, if anybody. And ultimately what happened was she died in 93 without a will, and her last husband died in 93 without a will. Neither had children. And so her story with these crazy headlines about the buxom barmaid sort of fell obsolete by the late 2000s. And I represented a brewing company that wanted to honor her because she was a trailblazer in her industry. And so they wanted to name a beer after her. And what ultimately happened is they looked for an estate, they looked for family members claiming an interest, and they looked for trademarks, and they found none. So they went ahead and named a beer after her. It's called the Ruthie beer by Exile Brewing, if you're ever in Iowa. But what happened was they went ahead and named the beer after her in 2012, and it went really wild. They had a lot of success. And in 2020, a nephew of the last husband sued them and said he inherited the name, image, and likeness through intestate succession. So he wanted a royalty off of every beer sold.
That case really has everything. We've got probate, estates, wills, bosoms.
Multiple husbands. I would just like to say that this woman is officially now my new role model and idol.
She really was a cool lady. It's really a cool case. It's fun to talk about. I'm always happy to tell the story. So if anyone sees me out and wants to hear the full story, I'm happy to give it. But, we have a lot of other interesting issues coming down in the product liability world, which really is my focus of my practice. And so it's just interesting how this stuff all works together and comes together. And,
Yeah, we were talking before the call, us US Law Live hosts always ask our guests to bring an interesting topic that's pertinent to what they're doing in their practice or in their industry. And so you have brought for us a interesting new wrinkle in products liability world with a recent Supreme Court decision. So I will turn it over to you, Chris, if you will fill us in here.
Sure thing. So the U.S. Supreme Court recently issued the Monsanto case, Monsanto versus Durnell. It was an appeal, obviously, to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court held that basically states cannot adopt laws that are more stringent than the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act.
Oh.
So basically, there's a nationalization of warnings that have to go on products, and states can't implement warning requirements that are more stringent than what the EPA has approved, which is a really interesting development in that world.
What has it been like before, and what were you seeing in your practice how's it going to change now?
So previously, we were seeing a lot of post-duty or post-sale duties to warn, and they're not always clear under each state. They're different under each state. Some states have more stringent requirements, some have less. And so it impacts the practice, because if you're in a state with less requirements, you would sort of defer to the federal regulations to make sure you're meeting, all of the requirements. And vice versa, if you're in a state with more stringent requirements, it could be really hard to identify those and meet the bar, because you might be really familiar with the federal regs, but you might not know every state's regulations. So it'd be very hard to meet the warnings requirements in those specific states. So it's going to change things. I think for our clients who are manufacturers of this product, it's going to help them to get some uniformity. What I think will be really interesting to see is how this applies to other acts. This preemption applies to other acts, other product liability type cases, whether it's FDA requirements or other industries that are highly regulated. It could have some ripple effects throughout the industries.
Are you dealing with this more in a counseling role, or is this something that's coming up in litigation, like functionally for you as the lawyer? What does that look like?
Well, yeah, obviously I'm trying to build my practice out to really focus on product liability cases. And so I'm always looking at ways that I can come up with new arguments and support great defenses for my clients. Well, my clients are typically defending. So I'm not usually doing it on the front side. I'm not counseling on the front side of complying with regulations, but I am typically looking for defenses that we can use to support our clients in that way.
When's the next U.S. law products seminar, Chris? Do you know?
We just had one back in May. So I think it's going to be May of every year. So this might be a topic we can next year, and we'll probably put it on the agenda to look into that.
Well, yeah, because I was just thinking what you said, I think is really interesting. And I imagine the clients who do attend the product seminars that US Law puts on would be interested in kind of the extrapolation of this decision to other industries. I think that would, to me, that seems very pertinent and hopefully beneficial for lots of our clients. I think exactly what you said is right. It's how can you comply with each state's requirements for the post-sale warnings, So I think it hopefully will be super beneficial to our clients across the board.
Yeah. Post-sale duties to warn are really interesting because they're not uniform throughout the states. I did a really random AI search. So I can't say that this is a perfect bit of research, but when I searched for what states have post-sale duties to warn, what I found was about 30 have them and 20 do not. So it's definitely really sporadic throughout the US as to if that duty even exists at all. But then some states go very deep in what they require. And so how to even get a warning that's going to comply is very difficult,
So where was the product seminar or forum this time?
We were in Nashville, Tennessee with that. And we made some really cool songs about product liability cases and falling off ladders. So.
Oh, that's funny. What were kind of some of the hot topics that you guys all discussed at this last event?
Ooh, that's you're putting me on the spot and I gotta think back on that. We did talk about post-sale duties to warn. We talked about AI. AI is a new and burgeoning topic in so many ways. And I think from a product's perspective, AI is just going to have a really interesting impact on both the content of the law, how clients are bringing cases, how we're defending them. I just think it's going to be very impactful. And, one of your questions on your topics is what keeps you up at night, and that's probably it. It's what is it the practice even going to look like in 5 years, because it's going to be very different.
Well, and to that point, I've been trying to ask people when I encounter them, so this is a great opportunity, Chris, to chat with you. Are you using AI in your practice, and if so, how?
Yeah, I am using it. A lot of times I use it as my brainstorm buddy, so to speak. I'll coin that term. Just kind of trying to think of defenses that I might not have thought about because I've not, encountered it or seen it before. I should tell you, my practice is very broad. When I say I'm a commercial litigator, that's what I've been doing for 18 years. And that has encompassed a lot of very broad topics like NIL, but also, wrongful death cases involving cranes that fall on people, or chicken cages that collapse because no one took the manure out of them, things like that. They're such rare cases, typically catastrophic, but I might not know everything. So I've been really using it as a think buddy for myself. The other thing I've been doing is when I have a form document and all I need to do is plug in information from other documents to update it, I've been using it that way, and that's been very helpful. It saved me a lot of time.
One of the things that I've found to be maybe my favorite thing about using AI in my practice at present is asking it to act like the plaintiff lawyer. For various different things. I recently used it I fed it some previous depositions from a case and then said, make me a transcript in the same style as these other questions for the corporate representative of my defendant. And then I used that transcript to do mock deposition questioning with my corporate rep. And it was so useful. And I do mock questioning, but being able to have questions in the style and sort of manner as opposing counsel was really awesome. So I think we're using it similarly in that things that we wouldn't have thought of or couldn't have, we maybe could have come up with it if we had spent lots and lots of time, but we might just be spinning our wheels. So it's really interesting, and it's certainly neat to see it evolve. And I do think that it's going to change not just the way that we practice law, but I think it's, changing these industries that we service so substantially, that it really is going to be interesting to look back on this podcast, in 5 years and be like, oh my God, these people were idiots. Why were they doing this, that, and the other,
You're using it all wrong. Oh.
Right.
No, that's interesting too, because one of the things that I did recently was Nebraska has a statute of repose for product liability cases that actually incorporates the statute of repose from whatever state in which the product was manufactured. So I actually used AI to survey within Westlaw the state statutes of repose to see, what states are we really vulnerable in and what states are we not from a statute of repose perspective because of our specific law and how it incorporates the laws of other states, which I find kind of interesting.
And Chris, obviously you're very involved in the products area and in US law. You're also a member of the inaugural LeadX cohort. Yeah. Very exciting. You and I got to spend some time together in Chicago earlier this summer. I just wanted to kind of hear from you, give our listeners an idea of that conference, of LeadX, and what it means for you.
Well, I thought it was a fantastic conference. I have to tell you, I had one experience that just blew all the others out of the water. And it was when Kristina from Idaho and Brian from Missouri and I all got on our electric bikes and rode Lakeshore Drive. It was just a phenomenal experience. And I can tell you now that's created a relationship that I think is going to just grow and grow because we're, exchanging text messages about, our next big ride and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
you're bonded for life.
Yeah. It's those relationships, though, that are so important. And I think LeadX was a really good format in which to build those relationships among the next generation of US law members.
And we had a guest speaker, Bree Lung, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, about relationship building and personal branding. And one thing that she mentioned was, or asked us, like, what is your brand? And I jokingly said my brand is lipstick because I try to wear a bright color lipstick all the time. I want people to maybe remember me as, oh, that's that girl who wears some bright lipstick. What is your brand? What did you identify?
Yeah, so I am the attorney that handles the strange and unusual cases in Nebraska. The stranger, the better.
Other than the big bosoms, what's one of your strangest or most unusual fact patterns?
Well, with a pro se plaintiff, you often get strange fact patterns. I just won summary judgment on one of those cases where the plaintiff claimed that her medical records were breached, and, she suffered just insurmountable damages, including the loss of her job because her medical records were breached. Trying to think of other strange ones that I had recently. I had a chicken cage case where an entire barn of chicken cages, the commercial chicken cages where they produce like McDonald's eggs for all their sandwiches, it was being, how do I say this? It was not being serviced the way it should have been, because those chicken cages have conveyor belts that are supposed to move manure out, and several of them had broken down and were not functioning. So they were physically removing manure from these buildings, and they collapsed on two gentlemen as they were doing that work.
Oh my gosh, that's not where I saw it going. I thought you were going to bring us some fact pattern related to this cyclospora explosive diarrhea lettuce outbreak we're experiencing.
Maybe next time that'll be the weird case that we get. But those are tough situations for the people that own the barn. I get it. It's difficult to keep that stuff going and moving. But it's also a situation that's very serious, and you got to be able to handle it. So.
Well, enough about work and US law. Let's talk the fun stuff. What are you up to this summer? I know you've got kids. What are the activities? Are you going anywhere?
Yeah, I've got a lot of good things. Well, first of all, I have to start with my son, whose name is Cole. Him and I have been doing a lot of golfing, and he just took home the FIFRA Family Golf Tournament Championship trophy last week. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's awesome.
The next Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so fortunate. I have a huge family. My dad is one of 11 kids, and so it's enough to run a golf tournament. And it's just a great space for both me and my kids to get out there and safely try the sport, because I'm not great at golf, but with people that I know and love, it's a comfortable place. But then I also have a 13-year-old daughter, and she is a phenomenal vocalist. She does musical theater. And so her and I are taking a trip to New York in 2 weeks to, see some Broadway shows.
What are you gonna see?
Well, I gave her the choice to pick one show that we'd buy tickets for in advance, and she chose Book of Mormon. So we're going to see that. And then I told her the rest of the time we would go to the cheap tickets booth where they sell sort of the remaining tickets that didn't get sold for face value. So we're going to get some cheap tickets.
That sounds awesome. I really want to take my kids, but they get cold in restaurants and don't like walking from the car to the restaurant in the parking lot. So I'm not sure if we're ready for NYC yet.
Sure. Well, your kids are a lot younger. Mine are 11 and 13, and you'll get there, Jessica.
Yeah, they're 6 and 8. One day they have big hopes. My son keeps begging to go to France or London, and my husband is just like, there's no way you are ready for that commitment.
That kind of reminds me of my other big trip that I have coming up is we as a family go on a family trip every December. And so we are doing Hawaii this year. So I'm booking.
Very nice.
Fun.
Yeah.
Is your hotel booked? Do you know where you're going to stay? What island you'll be on? The whole nine?
Absolutely. We're going to do 5 days in Maui, and then we're going to jump over to Honolulu and do 5 days there. So we'll have a nice long trip and get to see some different parts. Yeah.
Are you able to unplug and enjoy, or are you one of those who checks emails fairly constantly and make sure that you're not missing anything?
So both my husband and I are attorneys, and we choose this specific time of year because because it is like the one time of the entire year that we can both say, I don't need to be at the computer every day. I will check maybe once or twice over the trip, but the rest of the time I'm pretty unplugged. So
That's awesome. We went skiing the week between Christmas and New Year's this last year for the same reason of it's kind of the only dead week that we get. But I'm still anxious with OCD and probably still check my phone just way too much.
Yeah. Now your husband's an attorney too, right, Jessica?
He is. He's a
Okay.
plaintiff's personal injury attorney, so his is different. I mean, he's just on the phone a lot more with clients or with adjusters, where I'm doing a lot more, computer emailing or brief writing or just generally everything, as you know.
Absolutely. A lot more papering of the file on our end.
Yeah. Well, what are you watching or reading? Anything we all need to take as a recommendation?
Well, I just finished Mad Men,
Okay.
and that was I had that on my
so
list.
good. I'm so jealous that you just watched it for the first time. I wish I could go back and experience it for the first time.
Yeah, so that one I had on my list for a long time, but I just had never really gotten to sit down and enjoy it. So that was my summer binge. And then the other show that I just started is Ride or Die on HBO with Hannah Wiggingham. Is that her name? From the
Oh,
lady from Ted
Waddingham.
Lasso? Waddingham?
Yeah, and she was also in Game of Thrones.
Yes, yes. So it's kind of she's an assassin, and she has this friend that it's like her only friend, and they're in trouble, and they're trying to figure out if she's trying to keep her friend safe and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. I watched the first episode and I'm hooked. So
I generally like anything on HBO. We're watching The House of Dragon season 3, the Game of Thrones spinoff. It's just always keeps me entertained and also a little bit confused because everyone's names are very similar.
that makes sense. I want to know what's on Pam's agenda for the rest of her girls' trip here.
Well, we are
just spent $300.
my girlfriends are in the car right now, and they said that we just spent quite a lot of money loading up on the libations for the weekend. So we've done that, and then we are going to play a little bit of mahjong, of course.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, I know. Wild, right? In the back, you can see my floating maj of the car for Jessica and Chris. So we're going to do some maj, probably go out to the beach, and then we're going to go to a restaurant at basically the hour that 80-year-olds go to a restaurant because our house will not be ready until 4 o'clock. So we've decided we're basically going to go at 3 and have some cocktails. And then for the remainder of the time, it will be mahjong and beach and pool and rinse and repeat.
That sounds amazing.
Sounds so amazing. And as our listeners can tell, Pam is reporting live from her car, from her girls' trip with her friends. So when we ask you to be a guest and we tell you it's casual, it's not super formal, we mean it. Right, Chris? This has been enjoyable.
It's amazing. It's great.
Well, it was so nice of you to donate some of your time today, get back to those products. Hopefully you get to go golf. Pam, get some food in your stomach. And thank you all for tuning in for another episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. Have a wonderful day.